It's good?
Yeah.
It's close. Wow. Welcome to the York Daily Record Sunday News Editorial Board. My name is Scott Fisher. I'm the editorial page editor for the Daily Record. And we are live today from York College. We actually got to go on the road today, so it's a wonderful experience for us. We're here with York College President Pamela Gunter-Smith and York College spokesman Mary Dahlheimer. So thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate you.
Our pleasure. Good afternoon.
So let's start off with the elephant in the room, which is the unfortunate incident with hazing with one of the sororities on York College campus. Could you give us just sort of, we've reported on this, but just for, so we have some context with our video, could you give us sort of an overview of what happened in that case?
Well, what I'll do is really, I think that it's been reported widely, but what I'll talk about is the college's general policy and positions about these types of things. And I will say also, as you know, and I think the audience knows, is that there have been any number of instances of hazing in the news and on other college campuses, not just the college campuses, but also high school. And the college, York College of Pennsylvania, has a no tolerance, zero tolerance policy with respect to hazing of any type, whether it be with a sorority or fraternity, a sports team, social club, any other interaction with our students. Our role is to provide the best learning environment that we can for all students, to have one of inclusivity, one in which all students are valued and all students can learn, and our policy reflects that. In this particular case, we had a group that violated the college's policy with respect to hazing, and therefore we followed our judicial system, the way in which we handled these cases. And it reflects our zero tolerance for this. Also, you might recall that we had an incident last year with our wrestling team that was reported, and we followed the same procedures at that time that we did for the incident, the latest incident.
So in this case, there is a possible appeals process that some of the students might be going through. Is there anything new on that process that we need to know about? Are there any students appealed, and where does that stand right now?
I spoke with folks in the judicial affairs area yesterday, and there are a series of disciplinary hearings that were being held. The first was the organizational hearing, and that resulted in the suspension of the organization for 4 years. After that, then there were a series of individual judicial hearings for the students involved in the incident. Those, obviously, anytime a student has a judicial disciplinary hearing like that, there is an opportunity for appeal. I don't know at this time if any of them have formally appealed the decision in their hearing. I'm not really sure, but I know that we were coming to the close of those individual hearings throughout this week.
Mm-hmm. Do you make a practice of reporting the results of those things?
No.
So you wouldn't say, hey, X number of students were disciplined or expelled, or?
We've had conversation about this in the past. FERPA prevents us from providing information on student judicial hearings, and to avoid any kind of connection between a student and a sanction, we typically stay away from identifying the number of students who were expelled or warned or whatever. We really do try to follow the FERPA guidelines in that area and avoid talking about student disciplinary actions.
So York College has a fairly aggressive stance on this issue. When you hear about these things, you go after it and act, essentially. I'm just curious, in terms of rather than reacting to the incidents, being proactive about the issue of hazing, what kinds of things does the school do to try to educate students about the dangers of this process and this practice?
Well, I'll make some general comments. We, as I said, it's zero tolerance. Rather than saying it's aggressive, I say that it is appropriate and it is timely and we do follow our procedures and policies in terms of dealing with this. But in addition to that, all students are required to review the student code of conduct and to adhere to it. They are briefed on that on an annual basis. Our sororities and fraternities, the council that they have training with respect for their leaders and the individuals who are there so that they understand what hazing is and the college's policy around that. And so we do, I think, we're very proactive with respect to providing students with knowledge about our policies, our stance on that, and exactly what hazing is. You know, this is an educational institution, and part of our responsibility to our students is to educate them in more than just classroom, to educate them about life, about the choices that they make, and the consequences that they face for making those choices. And so it's part of the overall holistic education of students that we do at York College. So there is training on that for our students.
Okay, thank you. So you mentioned a little earlier there have been hazing incidents at other institutions. There have been issues with some Greek organizations, not necessarily on this campus, but elsewhere at Penn State and Oklahoma. Just can you talk a little bit about your perspective on the Greek system and the positives and the negatives, and what does it bring to the table? How does it help students, and what are the drawbacks of having a Greek system?
Well, sure. First of all, I think Greek life is very important on campus for some students. Here at York College, we have a variety of different types of student organizations. We have over 100 student organizations, of which the Greek organizations are just several of those. I think that they are an important part of a student's development, as it is for any other type of organization. There are leadership opportunities for them with respect to some of the national sororities and fraternities. They are able to be part of a broader group of colleagues and brotherhood and sisterhood across the country. So it gives them a different perspective. And I believe that it is a vital part of a student's life. Our experience with the Greek organizations on our campus is actually quite positive. They are in the community, doing a variety of different types of events that helps to serve the community. And so most of them, for the most part, the Greek organizations are really engaged in some type of service activity and other types of leadership activities. And it's unfortunate that you have any number of instances where young people make the wrong decision. And when they make the wrong decision, unfortunately, it's more often than not reported than when they make the right decision. So I do not think that this one incident that we've had reflects on all Greek organizations, but I think it is a reminder to all of our students on campus the importance of making the right decision and the consequences that occur when you don't.
Mm-hmm. At Penn State, with the fraternity situation there, President Eric Barron basically said we need to step back and reevaluate the entire Greek system at Penn State. Any plans to do that? Anything like that at your college?
That's not anything that we have really discussed. Our Greek system is not as extensive as it is at some other institutions. And again, for the most part, the Greek experience here on our campus has been extremely positive. As a result of this incident that we had several weeks ago, we have heightened our training for student organizations around hazing and also around the consequences. And so we have approached it as more of an educational opportunity. When we had the incident with a athletic group, we did the same thing. Again, was to really bring into play the educational way in which you approach these things. So I given I've been here a year and a half, and Mary, you may have some other views on this, but this is not, has not been a widespread incidence on our campus.
Okay. Moving on. Your college is engaged in a sort of a branding effort, kind of rebranding. Is it? If I'm not describing this properly, please correct me. But you're essentially sort of looking at the school and how are we presenting ourselves to the world, how are we marketing ourselves. Can you talk a little bit about that effort and what's going on with that?
Well, I'll speak a little bit about it, but Mary's actually the one who has done most of the work on it, and I'll ask her to speak to the specifics. I've been here a year and a half, maybe a year and 7 months now, and I think whenever you have new leadership coming into an organization, it's an opportunity to think about currently what we are doing, what the higher educational landscape is, how do we approach the future. And that's what I've done. So in the past year and a half or so, I have been talking about the greater York College and moving the institution from great to greater. And part of that, considering how competitive it is now for students with respect to our institutions, was to ask the question of my colleagues and specifically Mary, are we really reflecting who we are to prospective students and their families? Not changing our values or fundamentally who we are, but could we do a better job of really promoting in the outside of York College who we are for the families that will come to us, and Mary has been spearheading that. So Mary, I'll ask you to talk briefly.
We had in place a campaign that really focused on professionalism, and as Dr. Gunter-Smith indicated, when she arrived, it just so happened that it was also about 5 years into that campaign and that initiative. So it was time for an assessment and a time for an evaluation. We worked with an organization, did an extensive marketing research project, and then developed a branding strategy out of that as a result of that data. And I think the first point I want to make is that everything that we did is based on data and research and information that was gathered over a several months period of time. We spoke with alumni, prospective parents, prospective students, guidance counselors in the area, peers at other institutions, the campus, faculty, staff, current students, and really tried to gather not only, kind of what it was that they were experiencing at York College, what made their York College experience distinctive. We also went to our alumni and said, what was the thing that was most tangibly present when you graduated that you felt York College had done well and had presented to you, and the relationship that you had, what was the kind of one thing that really stood out for you? With prospective students and their parents, we kind of looked at them and said, what is the thing that you want from a college? What's the number one, number two thing that you are looking for in that investment? What's the value that you're trying to find in an experience like that?
And what did you discover?
Well, when you pull kind of what people want and what the college does best, that's the sweet spot, because a brand has to be not only authentic in terms of it has to be true and it can't be a gimmick, it also has to be relevant to the marketplace. And that's, as you said, when the landscape of higher ed is changing, the competitive nature is changing with higher ed, you have to be on task with that. We found a couple of key components that kind of were in that sweet spot. Students were looking for a community. They were looking for connections, not only amongst themselves as a community on campus. They were also looking for, and we were providing very close relationships with faculty members, mentoring relationships, faculty that really cared and were invested in the success of our students. Then there was also a relationship with the local community that was very important. Our faculty, many of whom are working professionals or have worked in a practice in the past, have the opportunity then to share with students those connections that they've made in the local and regional marketplace. The other really important component that came out of that was the hands-on approach that York College takes. It's a practical, hands-on experience that we provide to students. And that is not just during the senior year or the junior year, but that is throughout the classes that students take during the first year and sophomore year, service opportunities they may partake of, the student organizations that we talked about. So really kind of hands-on practical education. And the third component that came out was that York College provides a personal plan for success for students, not just a plan for them to get the job when they get out of college, but a plan for them to have a fulfilling career throughout their lifetime. And obviously parents and their students are looking for that return on investment from a college experience. So those are just a few of the keys that came out of that research that then really laid the foundation for the branding strategy and the creative work that we'll be doing in the next couple of months.
Okay.
I think it's important to emphasize that, what we found or what we were looking for was, how other people viewed us with respect to what they were looking for in the institution, and what the experience was of our faculty, our current students, as well as families. And I think it helped us to be a little more focused on how our message was getting out to the outside world. So we talk a lot about professionalism, but professionalism is more than what people normally think about. They think about, do you wear a suit? Do you not wear a suit? Do you have a tie? Do you not wear a tie? Do you, tattoos or no tattoos? But professionalism is so much broader than that, and that is one of our most important brands. We found that it was difficult to really help parents, prospective parents and students, to understand what we meant by that. And so our new branding marketing campaign helps to describe, I think, what we mean by professionalism in a more understandable way.
Can you give us a kind of a, you spoke about professionalism, which is kind of sounds like a theme that's coming out of this. Can you give us some sneak previews of some maybe other themes?
Sure. I mean, I think the overall theme that we've been working with is the theme from day one that really reflects the type of education that students are getting at your college from their first days on campus throughout. And that again focuses on those relationships, on the practical hands-on experience, on the connections that they've made and the friendships and things that happen outside of the classroom. It gives us a way to talk about, in essence, the very same things that we were talking about with our professionalism messaging, but it adds a component of emotion and passion and provides us the opportunity to, I think, better tell stories around that. And it really does evoke very quickly some great comments and some great reflections from folks when they think about their time at York College. It's applicable to the student that's walking in the door and talking about from day one at York College. It's applicable for the student who's talking about from day one at their internship and how they were prepared by the college to participate in that internship. Our alums can talk about from day one, after graduation and their entrance into the marketplace and into kind of real life and real world decisions. So it's really applicable across the board, and it allows, I think, people at different stages in their relationship with York College to talk about the institution and what it has provided for them and meant to them.
You mentioned earlier the Great to Greater effort. Can you give us a quick overview of that?
So, sure. So one of the things, I talked about how when a new leader comes in, she actually kind of takes stock of where she is. And the Great to Greater effort, this is a great institution. But moving forward, how do we capitalize upon everything that's here and try to and become who we are destined to be? And so the Great to Greater has a number of components to it. One of the Great to Greater emphasis in our coming strategic plan will have a focus on community partnerships and relationships. We're doing a lot of that now, but how do we enhance what we're doing, and how do we leverage those partnerships within the community for experiences for our students? And so we will be doing more of that. The other part is how do we become better known within the broader community of educational institutions. And with that, that helps the York community to be better known. And so we'll have more symposia, the development of some other types of centers of excellence that will serve the college and the students, but also the community. And the other part of that is how do we be more intentional with the use of technology in developing a learning environment for our students. Oftentimes, in today's world, when you talk about technology, you're talking about online courses. Well, this is a very special institution where, we would not be, the University of Phoenix. But how do we incorporate technology in a way in which it helps our students to learn a new pedagogy? So along those lines of the great to greater emphasis and working towards the strategic plan, I was able through our trustees and friends of the college to raise about $300,000. Actually with that type of money, you can go out to the community on campus and say, what is your dream? What is that you always wanted to work on that if you only had some cash that you could do? And so we had about 15 grants or proposals that were presented. We funded 8, and they range from all different types of things. Just to and I know some of this was published earlier, but just to give you a glimpse, our students have a Great to Greater grant to do more within the city. And so to help incoming students get a taste of what York City has to offer as a hometown away from home, and also having concerts at different venues in the area to really get our students more engaged. We have a group of administrators who are developing a new course, and that course is called Philanthropy and Social Impact. We're having a conference from our nursing department on geriatrics. And one of the other things that we're looking at is how do we perhaps use cable TV or the cable network to give our students who are in communications, for example, an opportunity to see what it's really like to run a cable network. So it has a variety of different pieces to it, and it's kind of the centerpiece for our strategic plan moving forward.
Let's talk about one aspect of that, the sort of your college's place in the community. At the Daily Record, we've been having a little feud with our sister newspaper online organization across the river about whose downtown is better. I wrote an editorial. They responded with 10 reasons why Lancaster is better than York, and it was fun. It was all in good fun, but it was basically we want to see our city and our downtown improve and so forth. And one of the things that we've noted is that F&M, which is really sort of an integral part of Lancaster's downtown and really sort of feeds into the energy that you see there. What can your college do to sort of create those kinds of synergies and become a real vibrant part of the city and the downtown?
Well, first of all, we're compared to Lancaster quite a bit. And the relationship between York College and York City is often compared to F&M in Lancaster. We have different places. I think we have perhaps different things to offer. But one of the things that I think about, there are 2 parts to it. The first is that York College has always been involved in helping to make this a livable place, not only for our students and a vibrant place for our students, but also for the community. I can give you a couple of examples of that. So, for example, our Jackson Street project, in which we did improvements on the streetscape. York College took the lead in that, in bringing together the landlords, because a lot of our students live on Jackson Street. I'm kind of looking at them out there in the audience. Live on Jackson Street, but also brought the utilities together, the landlords together, the city together to improve an area. And it's not just our students that live on Jackson Street. it's a neighborhood. And I think it's important for our students who live on Jackson Street to understand their responsibility as members of that community, as well as members of the broader York College community. So we've done that. We also were one of the major contributors to the Rail Trail project. And that is going to be, everyone uses the rail trail to walk, to bike, but to make it not only a more beautiful place to be, but also a place that looks like a safer place to be. And so that benefits not only the college and our students, but also the city. So we're very engaged in doing a variety of different projects. We are involved in Market View Arts and helping the arts district. So we do that, but a lot of the work that's being done is student driven. So I talked about one of the Great to Greater grants, where our students are going to do more with orientations to introduce incoming students and their parents to what the city has to offer, and that this is a good place to go downtown and to be involved. We also have any number of our graduates who are involved in state government, city government, and who are entrepreneurs who have actually taken root here. So I think that the college has an opportunity to not only to participate in the community, to improve the environment for all of us, but also to seed this community with fresh ideas, young people who are going to be the next generation of Yorkers. We have the J.D. Brown Center for Entrepreneurship. So we are actually serving as an incubator for some young businesses who are benefiting from not only space and offices, but from having internships for our students, as well as working with faculty. And when you're in an incubator, the plan is for you to hatch eventually. And our goal is for them to hatch right here in York.
Yeah, if you were to give your relationship with private and public interest in the city, the college city relationship, if you were to give it a letter grade, what would it be?
Well, so if I was given a letter grade, even if I gave us an A+, I think that there's always more that we can do. And from what I have heard from individuals, our partners in the city, that they see a renewed commitment on behalf of York College for the city. And I think that that is moving in the right direction. And so in terms of giving a letter grade, let me give a numbers grade. And that is that will strive for 100%, and we're not quite at 100% yet, but we'll continue to work on that.
Talk about the plans for the old Smurfit Stone site, the Kings Mill site, which is probably the closest touch with the downtown, the WECO area that the college has. You're right there at the Penn Street Bridge. You talk about plans, and also talk about the plans, the manor house there, the 1812 house that's on those grounds.
So we are in the midst now of our strategic plan process. We are also developing a campus facilities master plan that will help us to think about how we can best utilize the resources, the physical resources that we have here. And so currently there are no plans that are solidified right now, but hopefully with the campus master plan and with our strategic plan that we will be working on through the fall, we will have some more concrete plans then. But right now, it's a little premature for that.
Any enlightenment on the manor house itself? At one time there was some thought to make it the campus public safety headquarters.
I really can't speak to that because, as I said, we don't have any definitive plans right now. It will be part of our campus master plan, a comprehensive master plan that I expect that we will be doing in the coming year. And then I can probably give you more information now.
What about the, can you talk about how the plan or your thinking interacts with the Cadores Creek? You know, there's development all along the Cadores Creek. It's a magnet for development. It's a good thing. All the way from Live's work east of the stadium. Now you're at Smurfit Stone, you're right on the creek, you own that land there. The rail trail, of course, follows the creek in past the Ag Museum into the city. At the same time, you're only 2 blocks away from the Penn Street Farmers Market. I mean, literally 2 blocks. So you talk about the interaction. How does the creek play into some of your thinking?
Well, I really can't answer that specifically for the reasons that I just gave earlier about we are about to embark on a campus master plan that will help us to think about what we want to put where in the future. But I can tell you that we very much want to be engaged in the conversations with a lot of the, let's say, rebirth of many of the areas that are now undergoing renovation and development. And that includes areas like Royal Square, Continental Square, as well as the other area where we have Smurfit Stone. So I think that there's a lot of activity, and certainly the college wants to be a partner in that type of activity. But right now, other than what I've talked about with respect to the rail trail project, we do not have any definitive plans right now.
Could you just talk, just give us a summary of the rail trail project, refresh my memory of that?
So the rail trail project, and again, I may blank on the details here because it's been a while since we've done that. But the rail trail project is actually a partnership with the city, the county, and some other groups in the city area to enhance the lighting, enhance the signage, and what have you, to make it more of a welcoming pedestrian pathway. For us, it's a way for our students to have a pathway into town directly from campus. And the college committed funding for that, which served pretty much as the seed money. And once, in fact, the college provided funds, other entities within the city came together to make that happen. It was used to write a matching grant to get some other types of funds. And that project, I understand, should begin shortly.
Do you have a sense of how many students actually travel downtown via the rail trail at this point? Is there any, I don't know, any data on that, or is it common for kids to walk from campus downtown on the rail trail?
I would say that it is, common for the community to take advantage of riding bikes, running, that type of thing. But also for our students to go into town in the evening hours. We want to make sure that they feel that they have a way to get there that is not intimidating to them to go into town. So our Student Government Association, actually, we have shuttles and what have you that helps to get students, especially for things like First Fridays, Second Saturdays, directly into Central Market and other areas into town. So I don't have an estimate for that, but I think that once the improvements are made to the rail trail with respect to lighting and what have you, that we'll see more students to use it. Well, Mary, you have anything to
I was going
add
to say
that?
the other interesting project that's underway is our engineering students are working with an organization, Working Class, in the city to develop and design a rental bike kiosk system. So not only the kiosk where you would make payment, put an ID card in, but also then the actual storage component that would hold the bikes in place. I think that there were 2 groups last year that presented their designs, 2 or 3 groups that presented their designs to members from Working Class as well as some representatives from the city and other organizations. And, the goal would be to choose one of those designs and then develop a prototype based on the design. So that's another wonderful collaborative effort to have a kind of bike rental system on the rail trail, so that people could be, picking up a bike at point A, riding that bike into town, dropping it off at a kiosk or a storage center in town, having a membership, having an ID that would allow them to pick up and drop off bikes along the
That's
rail trail
kinda neat.
area. Yeah.
Would that be open to the community in general,
Oh,
or
yes.
just the students?
No, it's a project being designed by students, but it's intended for everyone to participate.
So, I attended our Student Senate meeting last night, and one of the members of the Senate, who's here, was talking about some of the projects that are underway. What's wonderful about this is that our students are initiating a lot of these activities. And I remember that she said that we want, other students to know what the city has to offer, and that it is safe to be in downtown New York. And the students are moving that type of project along. Did I get it right? Good.
Great. So you mentioned Jackson Street a little earlier. You've done a lot of wonderful improvements there. How is the relationship with neighbors on Jackson Street? That periodically, that relationship is sometimes good with like residential folks, non-students. How are things now on Jackson Street?
I actually think that it is very, very good, especially when you can consider the fact that you have, 20-year-olds living in a community. When I've talked to community leaders, our students are very, are accepted as members of the community. Like any community, there can be, some issues that are raised, but we also have something called the Student Neighborhood Task Force that meets on a very regular basis. And so that gives us an opportunity to address any issues that are out there with respect to our students who are living on Jackson Street.
I attend those meetings, and I will tell you, it's a forum for folks that might have concerns to bring them forward. There's always a fair number of landlords that are present. They're very active and invested in that community, as well as residents from the DuPont Avenue area and all around. If they have a concern, it is brought to the attention of folks on campus. That meeting is also attended by Spring Garden Township and New York City Police, as well as our campus safety folks. So, the concerns can run the gamut. Students are also invited as well. So if they have concerns about, lighting or things like that, it can be addressed right there. So it's a great opportunity to bring all of the interested parties together and really have a very kind of casual, open forum and conversation about how things are going. It gives us a chance at the college to update residents and landlords about activities that are coming up. We have a spring concert every year. We're able to kind of give them the heads up that there'll be a large amount of activity on our West Campus on this particular evening, and if you have issues, let's discuss them now, proactively address them rather than wait until there might be something that comes up. So it's been a very positive environment in the last in the years that I've been here at the college.
Okay. Well, I do have some other questions, but I wanted to make sure that we have some time for students. We have a number of media writing students here today. Does anybody have a question they would like to ask Dr. Gunter-Smith?
I left them all speechless.
No? Sharon?
Okay, well, mine's like a question and a comment, I guess. Like you said, we're really excited to be working with the school and the community to bring York College together and show the community what we're all about. And obviously that we want to give them all that we can because we're young, we're agile, college students looking for opportunities. So are you planning on, if the students take initiative and have ideas to do this, to support them with both capital and with your support and everything you can give to them to make that happen? Because obviously we are just college students, so we need that support to show that we are wanting to do something.
Well, I think I've already demonstrated that in a number of ways. In one way, the Great to Greater grant that we funded that really came from the students as a way of doing that. I also will say that everyone on the senior administration is in favor of supporting the students in doing the activities and bringing the students closer to the city. And as I said, we hope that when you come to York College, that you will become such a member of this community that it's a place that you will want to stay and put down roots. We have a lot of alums who are staying here. They're living downtown, kind of that urban life, going to the White Rose and to, Central Market. And so certainly, we'll do everything we can to support the students in that endeavor. The college does not, sometimes we think of the college as being in a bubble, but really we are part of this community. And as this community goes, we go. And as the college goes, the community goes. And so I look at it as a synergistic type of relationship where the sum is greater than that of any of the individual parts together. And so we'll continue to do that. One of the things that I did when I first came as part of my inaugural events was to initiate a new annual event, the Spartan Day of Service. And that was a way of getting our campus community, faculty, staff, alums, students. We came together that morning, we walked the rail trail into town so everyone would know how to get there, and then dispersed from there on a variety of different service projects. That year we had about 200 people. We did it again last year. We had about 250 people to join us. And this coming year, I hope that we can continue to increase those numbers. What's really neat about that is that the city actually played a major role in helping us to define the service projects that we were going to do. And I will tell you, we probably need to define more service projects for all of the students in our community that want to participate in that.
So they basically said, here's what we really need done. And
exactly. And so we
stepped up.
asked, it was coordinated through the mayor's office, what needs to be done, who needs help. We had a chart. We actually had buses that would bus students to different locations. Again, we walked the rail trail en masse, had a big kind of welcoming ceremony at Continental Square, and then moved out. To me, that's a way of demonstrating to the community that we are part of the community. We are here to do our part and to help our students to understand what it means for them to be part of this community.
How often do you interact with Mayor Bracy? Do you have a good relationship with her?
I have a wonderful relationship with the mayor. How often are we able to get together? It's not as often, I think, as we would both like, because we're both very, very busy people. But I know that all I have to do is pick up the phone and reach out to the mayor, and she, I know, can do the same.
Any other questions?
Do you have the date of the Spartan Service Day?
Actually, we do have a date, but I can't tell you what it is.
Okay.
But, it is, I think this year, I've forgotten when it was. We did it a little bit earlier so that it would be a bit warmer, but it is already scheduled. I just don't know the date. But through the student government, we can, student senate, we can try to get that out. It's generally, it's in October time frame.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Questions? Yeah.
You mentioned like the rebranding effort and the campus facilities master plan. Is there like a time period where this will it'll be more apparent that these things are going on, so that the student body is aware?
So with respect, I'll tell you that right now we're doing our strategic planning process, in which we're beginning to chart the course for the institution for the next 5 years as we move towards that, what I've been calling that Greater York College. And that is a community wide endeavor as we think about the future, our future. Students are engaged in that. In fact, our student senate has been doing their own planning, and I think that we will be meshing those two things together. For the campus master plan, it has not started. We are in the process of starting to interview companies that can help us do that, consultants to help us do that. But certainly students will be engaged in those conversations. So for example, let me just tell you a little something what I think about. So, you know, as president of York College, I'm almost like a mini mayor, you know, because we have housing, we have other types of buildings, we have food to worry about. The only thing that we don't have is a fire department and an ambulance service. Everything else pretty much a city has. We pretty much have those types of things. So as a person who's thinking about the future, I start thinking about, well, what should our neighborhoods look like on campus? You know, should we have all of our residence hall on, you know, the west side of campus? Should we have some of the residence halls, you know, continue to be on main campus? If we moved all the residence halls elsewhere, what would campus look like in the evening? It would be kind of dead, right? Should we have 2 dining facilities, or should we have a lot of little dining facilities? Should people who have different majors live in the same kind of general area? So if you're a nursing student, should you kind of live in the area where the nursing school is? So all of those types of things, you know, I think about in terms of planning for the facilities of the future, and also think a lot about accommodating new programs that we might develop to make sure that, you know, we have room for them. So certainly students will be engaged in that, and we haven't launched it yet, but when we do, students will be on that committee.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Anybody else? Okay. We have,
More time.
yeah, we do have a little bit. What is Generation Next, and
We have
how?
lots of questions. So,
I see 3 pages.
What is Generation Next, and how will that affect students and faculty and basically the entire college community?
So one of the things that's very special about York College that really drew me to the institution is that we have this wonderful mix of development in professional programs and always thinking about careers. And I didn't say jobs, I said careers, because I think that that's what we are more about. But it's with a strong foundation in the liberal arts. Some large research institutions do the career part and the professional development part really, really well, but not the liberal arts part that well. And small, just pure liberal arts institutions do that strong foundation that we feel is very important, but they don't really merge that with a focus on careers. And what we do here at York College, I think, is, and have been doing it for a long time, is have that mix that we have a focus on careers and life after York College, but that strong liberal arts foundation is really at the core of what we call professionalism. So Generation Next is our new general education program. In the past, in a lot of institutions, I've forgotten what it's called, they're breadth requirements.
General ed.
General ed. But it's like, okay, it's like a Chinese menu. You take one from column A, one from column B, one from column C, and then to make sure you have something in the arts, something in the sciences, but you may not really kind of figure out how they all mesh together. So with Generation Next, which our faculty have really been working on, it is going to have more than just trying to satisfy a requirement, a breadth requirement. They're going to be a constellation of courses. And the constellation of those courses are going to be centered around what the students study. So if you're a business major, you will take an arts course and perhaps something to do in history or humanities, and understand how that impacts on your current major. And I think that that's something that is really innovative and I think novel about what we do.
So it's kind of less random taking those sort of elective courses or the general ed courses.
It's choice, but it's a more focused choice on how it's going to impact your future and your major. And there'll be, as we talk about a student's personal strategic plan moving forward, they'll be able to take these working with an advisor to see how all of those pieces fit together. It's quite ambitious. There are some other pieces to that. One of them is a new first-year experience for us, in which all students will take a first-year seminar in which they will learn what it means to be a college student and how to approach their studies on a topic that's of interest. I'm actually teaching one of them in the fall called Public Enemy Number One, Pathogens and Disease. So it's all about plagues, right? And so we'll talk about the Black Death and Spanish influenza and even Ebola, but we'll talk about how, in fact, these diseases had consequences, social economic consequences, religious and cultural consequences. And so you can start to see how you blend all of these concepts together. And the other thing that we're doing now is that we have a new program called the Graham Scholars Program, in which that program is going to introduce all students to entrepreneurship and how entrepreneurship applies to any field. We have a major and minor in entrepreneurship. You always think of it in a business program, but this is a program that's designed for students in any major, and we have a number of community partners that will serve as mentors and guides for students in that program. So you can tell by my manner here, we're very, very excited about it.
Is this unique to your college? Is this or is this something that's been adopted or modified from some other institutions? Or
So I think that there are many institutions that have pieces of this now, but what's nice about this is that it builds upon the particular strengths of York College. Certainly this constellation of courses around, rather than just breadth requirements, this constellation concept that our faculty have been working on is indeed novel. I never say we're the only ones that do anything, but I think it certainly is a novel piece for what we do. And the Graham Scholar Program and for entrepreneurship is very cutting edge.
I'm going to leave you with the final question. So you've lived in York for about 1.5 years, almost 2 years now. Give me the 3 best things about York living here and the 3 worst things about living in York.
So the 3 best things about living in York is having the ability to be part of this community. When I was looking at this position, I wanted to be at an institution where the institution could have a real impact on the community. And I think I got my wish for that. I don't have enough hours to do it all, but to be able to be part of the community for me has been one of the best parts of living here. I was told that Yorkers were standoffish, was hard to get to know people. It's just been, I've been delighted with the reception that I've received, my husband and I have received as part of this community. And that's one of the best things about being here. And the other thing is that I've learned, as a new student would learn, how much the area and the city has to offer. And so a lot of people can talk about going to Baltimore. I go to Baltimore to go to the airport. I don't hang out in Baltimore. Or people talk about going to Lancaster. I don't have much reason to do that often because there's so much here that's offered in the city that I'm very happy here and find that I don't really have much of a need to do that. So those are some of my takeaways about being part of this community. So if you're at Central Market on Saturday morning around 10 o'clock, you're likely to see my husband and I there shopping and having brunch or breakfast. And we're enjoying going to the Revs game and being part of the community. So those are some of the best things. It's all about people, isn't it, and community. And this is very much a community with that have people in it that are ready to embrace you.
No worse things?
The worst thing I will say is that I'm a Southerner at heart. I don't do snow. But
You
there's,
haven't had any snow days this year. What's up with that?
well, we had four snow days last year, and we had one this year, but the students were on break. But I have absolutely no worse things about this community. It has just been a real pleasure to be part of this. And I would tell you that it exceeded my expectations, because when I came, I said, well, Baltimore's an hour away. But, being here, that's not the case. And, it's something special about being part of the York College community. This is, our community is very much a family. And when you talk to our students and our alums, it's about the relationships. And the best part about York College, quite frankly, are our students. We have wonderful, wonderful students who are bright, engaging, and very much the people who make our York College community what it is, with the faculty and staff, but primarily the students.
Great. Well, I thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to talk with us, and thank you again.
Well, it's been our pleasure. You're welcome back anytime.
Oh, thanks.